there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with the long overdue Distributor end of year sale, which I promised to do a video on, and now finally getting to this. And if you are a patron, make sure that you are on the Discord, especially the channel that's called the Pirates Plunder Discussion. That is where I give up-to-date info on any sales that are just... There are some quick sales that happen, like last Friday, or I think it was a week ago. On a Friday, there was a distributor that dumped a product for super cheap. It was March of Machines pre-release kits for $105 for a case of them. And so if you did the pack price for March of Machines draft boosters, it came to $1.16 a pack. And then you still got like a dice and a promo, which adds to the value. And if you remember, March of Machines also had those commander cards. You got one out of 3 different ones. That was a Squee and Slimefoot and some other commanders that actually did add to the value. So that was a screaming deal, but I only had about 2 hours to pull the trigger on it. And so I ordered a couple grand worth of it. But if you are on the Discord, that way we can have some up-to-date communication. Now, this video is going to be more geared towards people that are patrons of mine, but I think you can find this a helpful video because I'm going to be comparing distributor pricing with TCG Player and giving my thoughts on the current end of year sale prices. Spoiler alert, nothing is that crazy. I still think like Amazon dumps are better than distributor dumps, which is kind of sad because the stores miss out on it, and then just, you know, people that have the time to like refresh Amazon pages and get in on some of the times they have such small windows on those dumps, they get some screaming deals. So apparently, around the rumor mill is that those are going away, that the Amazon relationship has been severed a little bit, and Wizards of the Coast is starting to realize how damaging these places like the big box stores can be to a brand when they don't care about, you know, they can work off 3% margins, they can work on insanely low things, and for them, clearing the books or just moving things is a lot more important than trying to keep like a good stable price on a product. Now, the board game industry has already gone through that. A lot of them no longer use the kind of the Amazon price surrendering or going through, you know, Amazon Prime or Direct to get things into the hands of consumers. Where board games, I've talked about this particular game a ton on this channel, which was a game called Everdell that won Game of the Year, I believe, in I don't know, it's been like 2017. I don't know, it's been around forever, but they thought that they were big enough that they didn't need distributors, they didn't need stores, they could just go, you know, everyone looks at Amazon, everyone knows about Everdell, they can just buy it from there, and even though the Amazon will sell it for cheaper than they would like to get, they don't care because they are still selling it to, you know, a vendor that's going to sell it, and they thought that, okay, well, if it leads to increased sales, then it's just a win-win for us. What they found out the hard way is that board games don't operate like that. That every local game store and every distributor and everyone in that pipeline acts as a little sales force to promote that game, and the sales plummeted. So a lot of board games have gone back to traditional local game store distributor method because, and not only that, there's like across the board, there's a lot of products that are realizing, okay, we need to go back into the brick and mortars because it's just free advertising at that point to get our product name out there. So anyway, that is a discussion, of course, for another day. We've talked about before, but the rumor is that Wizards of the Coast is going to be trying to go down the pipeline of stores again rather than this more direct consumer route. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of changes I'd like to see with Wizards of the Coast. I think secret layers need to be ended limited, if nothing else. March of Machines is a good example of how the value of cards can be absolutely obliterated by secret layers, and then that is why March of Machines is such a terrible product, is because all the value, reprint equity that you want to, whatever the term you want to use for it, was actually murdered because it doesn't seem like anyone anyone communicates about reprints at Wizards of the Coast, because a lot of the Praters, especially from March of Machines or the multiverse slot, already had a secret layer and a list printing by the time March of the Machines was released, and all of them had been obliterated in price already. And so that slot became no longer something that people even cared about because a $4 card went down to $4 by the time it was released by March of the Machines. So anyway, the list, secret layers, and this dumping on, you know, these mass vendors, I think, are things that Wizards of the Coast is going to bite the bullet eventually and realize that, yeah, it leads to quick sales, it leads to clearing books, but in the long term, it leads to also the market getting oversaturated, the secondary market getting so oversaturated, and consumers also feeling so horrible about, purchasing at release date that they no longer purchase future products. But anyway, another discussion for another day. I don't know why I always get off on these tangents here. We are here to talk about the prices here. So one of the benefits of being a patron is I do try to keep up to date with distributor prices. You can compare them to TCG Player. So I put together this little cheat sheet with links that you can kind of compare and contrast of what it costs out the door after fees to get them from the distributors. One of the perks of being a patron of mine is you do get a certain amount of products per month, depending on what tier you sign up for, and it can save you. If you use your benefits, you actually make back your money, guaranteed. I mean, no one loses money if they make proper purchases, and there have always been silver lining things that if people want to make their patron membership worth it, it's easy to do so. A lot of people love it for the convenience because you can buy sleeves, you can buy deck boxes, you can buy other board games and other card games along with, if you're a Magic player, that's our kind of bread and butter here. You can also get that. So it's kind of your one-stop shop to set up a play group or just fulfill your gaming needs. So anyway, with that plug out of the way, let's go on to the dino-sized boosters that are supposed to be on sale for a particular event called the Dino Size Draft, which is the TLDR with that is that Wizard of the Coast is doing an event that's being run through local game stores to do a 4-pack draft rather than a 3-pack draft. Very little marketing with them. They haven't really pushed it out there to stores to run this event. In fact, we tried to schedule one. It still isn't available on their little app to schedule. It's just a mess. Like Wizard of the Coast does everything so half-assed that it's futile at this point that when they try to do these promotions. But at least it's a step in the right direction, I would say, to continue to run these sort of sales that also are around events. I'd rather have them do that than an Amazon dump. So to support that dinosaur, maybe I should increase this a little bit. Let's go ahead and see if that's big enough for everyone to see. They've put all of these draft boosters on sales or encourage distributors to sell draft boosters at I think we'll have to go back. We'll go back once we can see the TCG difference here. So that they put them on sale from their normal price. Now, mind you, draft boosters right now are about $95 to $100 out the door, which you're supposed to pay distributors. They haven't, that on release, that's what's been selling. Like if I wanted to pre-order these for release, that's how much it's been costing me to buy draft boosters. But almost every set a couple months later has gone down, and mainly due to the fact because now distributors have to compete, or now Wizard of the Coast has to actually sell to distributors at a lower price to compete with their own Amazon dumps. So again, they've shot themselves in the foot when they do these Amazon dumps, because then now they have to sell the distributors for cheaper, and then they don't make as much money as they would do. And I think the one thing that this Cyber Monday sale has shown is that Magic the Gathering is actually stronger than any of us think. The problem is, though, is everything's so overprinted, and it doesn't seem like Wizard of the Coast has any sort of like long-term in mind, because I think that they could go into like the warehousing business a little bit and host a lot of this product rather than try to clear the books. Like, are they really in that desperate need of money that they could allow this stuff themselves to appreciate and slowly trickle it through the traditional distribution and not like crush the prices? And it's just crazy to think that. Like if I was Wizard of the Coast, I would just sit on Kamigawa draft boosters and let them naturally appreciate, and then allow them for distributors to purchase at a higher price, and then stores to purchase from distributors at a higher price like a year or 2 years later when the product's actually aged. But again, I'm getting off on a tangent. That's how the good old market used to work, and now we are in this weird economic system of where Wizard of the Coast has just printers going burr, and then they want to clear the inventory as quickly as possible so printers can continue to go burr. And yeah, whatever deals they have with ink and printing or whatever, I don't know if they have to take a certain amount that gets it down to a certain rate. I don't know the economics behind it, but that's what it is really leading me to believe, that there's other factors at play that are encouraging this kind of pump and dump kind of market, to where they just sell what they can for what they want at the MSRP price, and then dump it on just to recoup as much money as possible after that. But again, I think it's just such a losing situation, because inevitably these products start competing with their future products because they still contain many of the same cards. So take Infinity, for example. Infinity is going to be competing with Ravnica Remastered because Shocklands are going to be still the chase cards out of both of those. And with Infinity still on the shelves and still at distribution levels, it's really going to put a hamper in the ability for Ravnica Remastered to be a set that's highly, highly sought after. And in the case of Ravnica Remastered, maybe I'll talk more about this on Market Monday, it had dismal sales. We have distributors saying that it's their worst remastered set, kind of specially set, pre-ordered ever. That's what I've heard from my distributors. So anyway, where are we? It didn't help they also did an Amazon dump before they even had artwork for the boxes. Anyway, let's get on to this Dino Size draft. So we have the Brothers War. I've got things highlighted in green, which I think are good deals, and I've got the prices on TCG Market currently today, which is Black Friday, November 27th, and the difference of what you'd be paying on TCG Player. Shipping isn't really included. It's just kind of I rounded the nearest 5 for some of these and tried to include a little bit shipping if there was low quantities and things. So it might not be the most accurate when you click on these. So I do have links. If you are a patron, this is something is available, and this will pull up a link, and then you can say, okay, Brothers War Draft Boosters, boom, here it is. Brothers War Draft Boosters. We'll pull it up. The last one sold was for $75.97. What do we even have it on here? 75. Yep. So 75. There was one that sold for 70, but we don't know what shipping was with this. This is something you can't use as a really good data point here, because you don't know what people paid for the shipping on these latest sales. So keep that in mind. It's good to just take like an average of these, which is exactly what they do with this market price here on TCG Player. So I put 75 for the market price. And so if you're going to order at distributor right now, you would make a whopping $0 differences. You wouldn't save anything, and you wouldn't get your 10% bonus bucks back from TCG Player. So of course this is just a terrible thing to purchase at the moment through the distribution line. One thing that is good about today's sales if you click on any product, there seems to be quite a healthy number of boxes sold comparatively speaking in the last weeks and months for almost every product. So again, it shows the real strength of Magic the Gathering. Unfortunately, Pokemon and Magic, it's just the biggest head scratcher, because you think by now that they would have adjusted and realized we are never going back to the FOMOing, pumping, the COVID years where there was so much money out there and there's just so much, people having no business investing in collectibles, thinking it's going to go to the moon. And they need to realize they need to go back to actual numbers, actual supply and demand, not this artificially made one that was created by a situation that hopefully never comes back again, because I never want to see an economic situation like that where people are bored and have so much money, and then everyone at the same time gets in this cultural mindset that they're going to be the next, they don't want to miss out on the next Bitcoin or the next collectible that goes, through the roof. So anyway, another discussion of the other day. Let's get back to topic, Kevin. We are rambling. So I've got this, of course, for Dominator United. That's another with no difference. And the ones that are highlighted, I do think are good. So let's just kind of go over those ones at the moment. And these things are subject to change. I was noticing a lot of these other ones that aren't highlighted have actually pretty low supply at this market supply. So there could be just a few of these even sold, and those could jump up. So keep that in mind. Alrighty, so the first one I really like is the Kamigawa Draft Boosters. Kamigawa is one of the most beloved sets. It's got $30 rares. It's got a lot of chase cards in this set. Wandering Empress still sees a lot of play. Wandering Empress, right? Anyway, still sees a lot of play. It is having this nosedive recently. That's mainly due to the fact that stores can get these from distributors for cheap, and so I'm assuming a lot of these stores are taking advantage of the same deals that I'm taking advantage of, and then they're throwing them up because they can still make a profit at $95.95 and get them right now from $75 from the distributors. So right now, this is one of the best differences right now is a $20 difference between the TCG market and the price you can get it for distribution. And it's a set that has aged long term. The one thing that I don't like about Kamigawa is this one did have the most reprints out of all of the ones discussed here. So it was something that was printed over and over and over with people chasing the neon cards with all of the land cycle that has just been absolutely hot in multiple formats. They're basically a shoe-in in every commander deck because there's no drawback to them. And it's just, for long term, sometimes these type of boxes don't age as well as a box that didn't have a good reception. A good example of this would be Amonkhet. Amonkhet didn't have good sales. Neither did Our Devastation. And if you compare it to sets around the same time period, like the Guilds of Ravnica's, the Ravnica Allegiances, or even a little bit before that, those boxes actually didn't appreciate in value nearly the rate that Amonkhet and Our Devastation did, mainly due to the fact that there was just less product overall even ever opened or even in circulation. And so it was just less supply competing. Even though it was less demand, it was even less supply competing for that demand. Of course, prices adjusted accordingly. And so that's my one warning about Kamigawa, comparatively speaking to the other ones here. with the exception of Phyrexia, which is the other one that's selling really well, which is Phyrexia All Will Be One. Ignore the strap booster. Do not buy the strap booster. Buy the previous kits if you do want. I think they're much better bang for your buck. We'll talk about that shortly. But if we go to Phyrexia All Will Be One, we are going to see another good indicator here of prices actually going up. So this is actually back up to like 96. I think I've got it for 90 because that was what the market price says. But I think we can safely even adjust this to, I do have it at 95. Okay. So 95 is about the going rate for it. This one's slightly more expensive. I can't get it at 75 bucks, but I can get it at $80. And so you do have the difference of $15, which I think is pretty decent at this point. And especially what I like about it's been going up, in the past. It was selling a week ago for in the 80s. Now it's up to the 90s. And if we actually look, there is a healthy supply at this 96-ish, but then the next jump is all the way from 97 to 100. And then you really get into, before the real supply is like, $100 here is where the real supply of this box is. So it does seem to be like a good one to pick up. This is one of the draft formats that is just like Kamigawa. Both of them were knock out of the park draft. People love drafting it. And we'll have to wait and see if that's something like, it's the age-old question that I've talked about when they introduce set boosters is which one's going to age better? The one with better EV. I mean, it's impossible for draft boosters, I think, to really appreciate EV value compared to set boosters because set boosters is jam-packed with more rare slots and things that give it a lot more expected value. But draft can be drafted. So it's kind of utility versus expected value. And if expected value only goes so far if you go back to a lot of older sets. Even if you go back to like Shards of Alara and you try to compare like how much you would actually open up from Shards of Alara versus, how much the box is worth. I mean, you'd never make your money back on those type of stuff. So these older boxes, the price was really going up based upon that they were being stripped away due to the demand of people wanting to draft them. And now Wizards of the Coast has done a lot of things like remastered, which of course cuts into the nostalgia of wanting to open up these old boxes to a point. However, I still think the draft boosters do have that kind of leg up against set boosters for the utility aspect of them. And now we don't have to worry about either or because they're getting play boosters, which I'm going to be discussing in another video. We do have play booster box prices that are now set in stone for most of the distributors, so I can give people a clear view of what they're going to be going for, which there are some things that make me scratch my head because they raise the price of bundles. But, I mean, they're replacing bundles with play boosters instead of set boosters, but those were supposed to be mirrored in cost. And that's why there was an increase in the draft boosters because now it was more like set boosters going into draft boosters, which increased the number from 30 to 36. I don't know. It's just a headache to try to understand where Wizards of the Coast is going logic with it. So it'd be interesting to go cost per pack because set boosters and bundles have been very, very similar in how much it costs per pack. Bundles have been slightly more because you get promo and a box and whatnot. But it does seem like with the play booster bundles, there's going to be a significant increase compared to the booster boxes. So anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about because Kevin is now rambling again about something that is unrelated. So next one up is the Eldraine. This one surprised me because this sucker had a crash because there was just a lot of supply out there for a while. But it seems to have a bit of recovery. And you actually see the last one sold were about 98. So I can safely say that after this 97, 98, it does hop up to $100 per draft booster box. And if you look at this, it's about another $15 difference because I can get them at 80. And this is another set that's just packed full of doubling seasons. It's packed full of, which probably will get a reprint in Ravnica Remastered, but it does have those slots in the Enchanted Tales that are really, really good, as well as cards that are really, really good. I think that's the kind of the big difference between Martial Machines and the slot with Multiverse Legends is that Eldraine packs a lot more punch for chase cards that people actually want for standard decks, commander decks, even modern decks that do use cards from that, Pioneer decks. And so Eldraine has been something that I think will be received quite well. But this is just another starking, the glaring problem with Wizards of the Coast that they're already blowing out draft boosters from Eldraine. Was the most recent set until Ixalan. It's just craziness at that point. We go on to things like Crimson Vow, New Capenna, that actually are cheaper to buy on TCG Player, which is kind of crazy. And the Modern Horizons 2 sleeve boosters, this one was a weird one because I couldn't actually find a case on TCG Player. Maybe I was searching incorrectly, but if you actually go per pack and value them at $5 a pack, then you actually do get around $600 is the price. So I wouldn't actually think that this is a terrible deal. If you actually do look for the sleeved draft boosters, those are actually expensive. They're going for like $8, but sleeves are so weird. It's like people have to price them at that because they're hard to ship. So what a sleeve booster is it's the stuff that they call them hanger packs too. They hang on the checkout lines at like the Walmarts and Targets, and they contain one pack in them. So it's basically like buying a pack that is double sealed. You have the sealing of the plastic of it and sealed with some cardboard to have the hanger packs. And so they've actually, like, I've seen it with Pokemon throughout the years. They actually appreciate a lot quicker because they're still considered sealed. And so people like to buy them as individual packs and will pay a little bit more premium than they would just loose booster packs. So food for thought with that. There can always be, like, again, it's the long tail theory in Magic the Gathering is that, sometimes even though a product is heavily searched, you think, okay, it has a ton of demand, therefore it will probably appreciate quicker than something that doesn't have a ton of demand, but it also has a ton of supply. When in actuality, maybe something with very little demand but very little supply can actually appreciate quicker in value because there's always someone searching for that particular product. And so we've seen that with some weird items lately that we've been selling, like Keyforge and just some crazy stuff that are like, wow, why is this stuff moving at a premium? We just chucked it up for expensive because it's like, there's no one competing with it. And they actually do sell because we're the only ones selling it. Anyway, another video for another day that I need to put on my to-do list as Kevin rambles about stuff he wants to talk about that is unrelated to this video. All right, so again, we have some other good ones like Commander Masters Draft Booster Box at $215 versus the $230 on TCG Player. I still think that's kind of meh at this point. Commander Masters Draft Set and Collectors have gone up throughout the week, though, so keep that in mind. I don't even think I even linked Dominator Remastered here because it's so pathetic because the Amazon dumps really killed the value for a long time, and I think distributors are just unwilling to let them go for such steep discounts. They'd rather hold on to this sort of stuff than let it go for, losing a ton of money at that point on a product that they probably purchased in mass quantities because it had Force of Wills in it. All right, so we go to the non-Dino draft, and we have some end-of-year sales from the distributors and things that I just will sporadically put on here as I see sales. We have all of them linked here. We'll go to the highlighted stuff because there aren't really... there's a lot of stuff you lose money on. There's some, like, Commander decks. Commander decks are weird because a lot of these places do, like, the free ship, which... like, I can't get you these Commander decks without paying an arm and a leg for shipping because they're quite bulky, especially some of these older ones like the Innistrad era. So keep that in mind that this does not include shipping to you. So that's why I didn't highlight them. But the first ones that do stand out is the Dominator United Collector Boosters. I can get it for $116 out the door. And they're going for about, $132, $135. The last one sold $136.98. This is an interesting product because it has Shieldred. You actually have a high probability of getting a Shieldred out of opening up 12 collector boosters because of how many versions of Shieldred there are. And there also are Legends cards in this. Like there was a Merfolk that just went up in value too from Dominator United, and there's a few other cards that are actually pricey out of Dominator United, or at least going up in value, that actually is making this a lot more appealing, and especially with Standard sticking around, with one of the best decks still being Soldiers, which is predominantly cards from the Dominator United stuff. It could age quite well in the long term just for that reason. And again, this product I don't think was terrible. It was just surrounded by superior products, and especially at the wrong time. There was just so many other things that came out right after Dominator United that people just passed on this product. It went to a lot of supply out there. It was really the first chink in the armor too of the market, where market was really starting to turn. And yeah, you're seeing all that play into why these collector boosters. I honestly think these collector boosters were overprinted too because of the Legends. I think that Wizard of the Coast really expected these things just be sold like during the Zendikar days of like putting the alpha, beta, unlimited cards in or was this alpha you could get in Zendikar? But anyway, putting those cards slotted in there. So yeah, and the market just rejected it. And so what we're seeing now though is we are seeing the prices going back up. Did have that dump here, but this one still you can currently get for pretty cheap from the distributors at the $116, and that's a $19 difference, which is pretty good for the expected value that you can get from Dominator United collector boxes. The next one I want to talk about is the set boosters from Baldur's Gate. The Baldur's Gate is good. The drafts, I think I skipped this one here because I was going to talk about the sets here. The sets and drafts are both pretty good. Draft boosters right now are going for the, or set boosters right now are going, well, actually, yeah, $90 is what they've been selling for. One sold for 84 here, but there was one also sold for 90. We don't see any 84s down here. And this has a supposedly inverted EV no matter what product you go. Whether you go the set boosters or the draft boosters, the expected value of what you'll crack out of these boxes is going to be greater than what you're going to be paying at the $60, $65, or $70 price tag that these cost out the door. So it's basically pretty much sixes between sets and draft. I think people say that draft at $65, $5 cheaper and more packs is the better route to go. But yeah, I think that either one of them is fine to go for Baldur's Gate. There's a lot of good cards that haven't actually been reprinted in these sets, and it does have a good land cycle. And it was just another product that was sandwiched in between better products, and then without having Jeweled Lotus and some other notable reprints, people had a sour taste in their mouth for Baldur's Gate. However, what we're seeing in the excuse me, the kind of the long scope of Magic the Gathering economics here is that actually reprints are starting to lose their kind of hold of the kind of tried, tested, and true stuff that makes a set sell long term. And it's actually new cards that are pushing sales in the future. And with all these exclusive cards that are in Baldur's Gate, this is something I think can appreciate quite well due to the fact that they haven't seen reprints. But again, that's kind of the question: is Wizards going to keep up their appetite for reprints of just the secret layers and lists and things just driving just massive amounts of reprints into the market? Alrighty, so a few of the other products too that are really good that I mentioned before is the March Machines pre-release kits. Unfortunately, excuse me, I can't get this at the 105 that I was able to get this at. Again, I had a 2-hour window of saying yes to a distributor, and I ordered a couple $1,000s worth of them. I wish I would have ordered more, but you can still get these at 160, and I actually wouldn't even fault you at 160, because if you actually I couldn't find a pre-release case either, but if you put together the price of what they're going for $18 a piece on TCG Player, it puts about at 270, and so if you can actually sell them for 18, or if you think that that's the value with what's in them, which is actually is the distributor cost of if you wanted individual kits, they do cost about $18 a piece. That's a huge saving of still 110. And these things are still packed full of value. You still get the 2 promos per pre-release kit that has the Slimefoot and Squee, which I believe the most expensive version is like $7. But still, I mean, you have a decent chance of getting them. And you do have Ragavan that's in here. You do have Sheoldred that's in here. Not the expensive one, but still a Sheoldred that is expensive. Tali's in here. And so the value of these are pretty good. And same thing with the Commander decks. What makes the Commander decks pretty unique is they do have the Planes Chase dice and the Plane Chase cards in them, which actually do drive up the cost. And if you can actually see, there's quite a bit of difference here between the Martian Machine Commander decks on TCG Player and what they cost at distributor price. And so these are my kind of picks of what I would buy into right now for the Magic the Gathering products. Now, keep in mind, I can do Pokemon and Flesh and Blood. There's a ton of Pokemon sales, but Pokemon is just an absolute disaster right now. I don't know what Pokemon's end game is here, but they are trying so hard to destroy their brand, and it's kind of crazy too, because Pokemon is just, the sales are still through the roof, but man, do those printers go burr. And the Sword and Shield era was overprinting, and the Scarlet and Violet did a hold my beer with Sword and Shield, and they have just gone ham on printing. They just print. And I get it. Pokemon doesn't have the kind of resilience that Magic does to overprint or underprint. When Pokemon gets underprinted, things skyrocket, and then you have people, rioting at Targets. And then when they overprint, then it goes to zero. Then you see the 95% discounts, which we have seen in the past for Pokemon, where things have just gotten absolutely obliterated and distributors can't give away product. And we're in a mode of Pokemon has increased their prices on everything, yet, I mean, it doesn't even sell by the time that pre-orders are done, it's already selling for less than what people, distributors paid for it. And so I didn't even spend the time to throw Pokemon deals up on here. So if you are looking for Pokemon, again, the TCG market, the eBay market is typically better, which is sad, than going, my route, going the distribution route. Because Pokemon also has this weird relationship that they have these alt distributors, so it's not like the traditional, the GTSs, the Alliances, the ACDs, the PhDs, those type of stuff. They have other distributors that also distribute their their product. And a lot of times these distributors, it gets in the hands of like the mass online sellers a lot easier at a very, very discounted rate. Like people have figured out ways to get Pokemon product for insane discounts because they market it and price it differently. And they're still even like English versions. So what they do is like, say for like Indonesia or, Malaysian markets, Indonesian markets that have huge Pokemon markets, or even things like Singapore, like a lot of that Southeastern Asian, they do create some in those languages, but oftentimes they create a ton of them in English. And what they do is those ones end up back in the US market, and they are steeply discounted because Pokemon realized they can't sell them at that price. And so it just, like, people play the arbitrage game with that all day long. So they buy at the, Malaysian price for an English version of it, and then get it over here to the US markets at a, steeply discounted price. And so Pokemon really, really needs to fix their that sort of stuff happening. Otherwise, it's going to continue to undercut their U.S. distribution. And again, the big box stores too, they give sweetheart deals like crazy to the Costco's, the Walmart's, that sort of stuff. And again, those things do end up, really competing in that sort of market as well. So anyway, I didn't take the time. Anyway, I'm rambling again. That's what I do best on this video. But yeah, head on over to patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder if you are interested. Link in the description below for joining up. And I think the Discord is worth it if you just want to pay the the $2 fee for Discord access, because we do talk quite a bit. There are a lot of gurus on the Discord that know a lot about the market, and they do share information back and forth. So if you are looking for kind of a community that does talk about and we talk more about than just finance here there too. I think it's a pretty good community we got going on here, and I am a lot more active on the Discord than I am here on the YouTube channel, which is something I want to revive. Like, in all honesty, around the holidays, I'm way too busy locally to really push out content, but it is something I do want to get back to doing, especially now we're in this really interesting market where it's fun to me again, just to really dive deep into the numbers and start to digest some of this data and figure out little little niches that we can carve out, because some of these too, even at this price, like don't even take in the account going the distribution route. Just some of these stuff right now on TC Player have positive EVs if you're just going to crack the boxes. Like these March Machines and Commander Masters, they're really pushing that with EV, where you're making like even on low end, like being very conservative with fees and shipping materials, all that stuff. Errors, things like that. Even accounting for that, a lot of these booster boxes are coming up with like $5 to $10 of profit per box. And so if people want to, really, and you don't really have to do this as a okay, I'm going to turn a business out of this. This is what I like to highly encourage people, that this channel is more geared towards managing a collection and just feeling good about purchases in general, and playing the kind of the trade game, or like I said, managing a collection at a low end scale. And you can still use these little tricks, then try to massively scale this to try to make $5 to $10 a booster box. I don't do that sort of thing. I don't crack booster boxes and things all day long, because it just sounds like a miserable life, and I'm not willing to work for such low wages. But if it is something you want to manage a hobby and manage a collection and eke out a little bit of value here, I've been there. I've talked about stories in the Rogue Deck Builder where my entire collection was stolen, and I had to use these little. I think one of my very first arbitrage opportunities, which I made a ton of money on, was the Inkmoth Nexuses that were in the event kits. They're in the event decks, and they were still being sold. You could actually buy the event kits and sell the Inkmoth Nexuses for the cost of the event kits, and then the rest of it was just basically free. And then I was supplying a market in Salt Lake City, because our store didn't keep any commas or uncommons in stock. They didn't really care about singles, and so I was that guy that was kind of running that market at the store. And it's between that and speculating Hell Riders that really was able for me to come back into Magic, because I had my entire collection stolen. And, I was a competitive player at the time, and I, with new standard modern stuff coming out, you needed new cards, and I couldn't afford it at the time. And it was just, by turning these little products, and that was me doing that at almost like MSRP. Those are good old days. Anyway, I'm getting into story time here, but we will definitely take a look at some more sales that come up as time goes on. And yeah, if you guys are into story time, that's another video series that I do want to revive over the Rogue Deck Builder channel. Maybe I'll do it here on the Rogue Market too, because I think there are some interesting stories of how I got into this sort of industry, and some of my greatest hits with the MTG Finance, and some calls that I made right or calls that I made wrong with stuff, and lessons I've learned over the past. That's some fun stories about like trading cards at GPs on day 3 because vendors are looking to get rid of all of their sealed product because it's cumbersome, it's bulky to ship back, and they want cards instead because they are super light. And so I remember like one GP in particular, I traded all of my cards that I was looking to sell off for, store. A lot of them would give like 30% store credit, and then I'd get KMC sleeves and Dragon Shields. So I'd go home with like boxes full of sleeves by turning in cards at a higher price for them. And I remember one time I was able to get like, I think it was KMC sleeves down to like around $1.70 a pack, if you did kind of the conversion rate of what I was trading cards in. But anyway, story time for another day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will stop rambling. Thanks for watching.